Quite simply, non-standard insurance can be defined as anything that's not standard, anything that your typical insurer wouldn't cover. So I often look at it in a way of when you're running through a general quotation on your home, anything that you're answering which is out of the ordinary, then could define it as non-standard. Non-standard construction can be a common one. So if it's not typically built of brick or concrete for the walls, or roofed with tile or slate, um, for example, timber frame properties, that type of scenario could be that it falls under a non-standard construction. We do a wide variety, so some weird and wonderful types of non-standard construction. Um, that's the type of thing that a standard insurer wouldn't be able to cover, so it would fall outside of their remit. A non-standard construction can sometimes fall under a 100% flat roof, for example. So a lot of properties have them, but it is something that does fall outside of a lot of standard insurers' remit. There are things like living roofs. So people effectively have what I would consider like a garden style roof. That again doesn't fall under standard insurance. Other things that we can see less commonly, but wattle and daub construction, steel construction, bungarouche, things like that, that most of your standard insurers are going to turn around and say, no, we can't accommodate. We can do those things, but we can also, again, advise on that type of policy, what it is you need, and how the policy covers you. Something that comes up quite a lot with non-standard insurance as well, which I think is worthwhile touching on, is flood. Flood isn't necessarily something that insurers want to cover or like to cover. However, we do have options with insurers where we can cede to Flood Re, which is a government-led scheme through certain insurers. This can make it easier for customers who have had previous flood or live in a higher than normal flood risk area. A lot of standard insurers, they may find automatically decline to offer them flood cover, or they may struggle. So again, that's something that could fall within the non-standard element or area. So effectively, again, it comes back to that advice. So when you're on an online provider, for example, and you're looking at the click down options and your option doesn't come up, that's where you're likely going to benefit from the advice of a broker to be able to understand what your property is. The way we treat non-standard home insurance is just like home insurance. So the difference being is that with non-standard home insurance, it's an insurer who is accepting the non-standard risk. So sometimes it can be confused with a completely different insurance policy, but all it really is, a non-standard insurance provider is providing that cover that a standard insurer has said no to or has declined. For example, business use is probably a good one. So an individual might teach from home, they might tutor music, for example. Most insurers will say no. What our insurers do is they will expect the individual to cover the liability aspect, which is quite common. But what our insurers will do is accept the fact that they're teaching from the home. But this is quite a common one that people miss. So they don't tell their insurer because they don't believe they need to, but it could be a straight decline to that insurer. So what we then do is we offer a home insurance policy that covers them like any other home insurance policy would, but accepts the fact that they are doing that business element or that that property is of a non-standard construction, whatever it may be. And there's a vast amount of non-standard scenarios that we can cover. What we also do offer with non-standard insurance is the typical policy enhancements that you would find with home insurance. So total home protection, for example, which would cover you for legal cover, home emergency, pest cover and key care as well. Again, what we do at Wesleyan, however, is we want to understand the need for these products. So we don't just bolt them on. We don't just look to add any types of cover unless we've had that conversation. And again, it'll keep coming back to that importance and value of advice. We won't just sell you a policy or offer you a policy based on what we think. It will be based on what your needs are. So if you have some of these covers or elements of cover elsewhere, then we're going to have that conversation and we're going to make sure it's tailored, something that again you won't be able to get online.